The ICP 2.0 document is probably one of the most bullish papers that has come from Dom. It started with the forum post on productization and then goes to the ICP 2.0 medium post, and it like further kind of focuses like into 2.0. There's three main sections. There's an emphasis on for-profit ventures.
That's right.
There's an evolution into a mainstream cloud solution, and then tokenomics and deflationary optimizations.
Mission 70. So exciting. All three of those points get me fired up. I would just love to hear your biggest takeaways and the implications that you think it will have for everything.
Yeah.
Product side, market side.
So in terms of the emphasis of for-profit ventures, what those look like: Caffeine, Utopia, and Convo. Caffeine, we've already seen, right? A platform that builds apps, websites,
self-writing internet.
Mm-hmm. Yep, self-writing internet. And then Utopia. And there's Dfinity members that have said that it's like pilots have been going out, which is really good to see and hear about. I'm sure a lot of that is behind closed doors until
NDAs.
Until it's ready to be seen. And then the last one is Convo, which again described as like the stealth initiative that, you know, is intended to drive substantial usage. I think it's an extension of Caffeine in terms of that you can talk to it. I think if they go the route of like having phone calls, because ChatGPT at one point was connected to the phone and you could just call it and create stuff. I think there's some cool stuff that you can do, or you could be in like a group call like this, and then we can just add in Convo and then it builds stuff for us. Could build the podcast like tool that we've been talking about. But I don't know, like that's, I mean, pure speculation. It's the stealth initiative for a reason. So
that's right.
So I don't necessarily know, but those are the like three main ventures in terms of like for profit, like, yeah.
My speculation is maybe everyone's personal sovereign chatbot agent. I mean, I have no idea, phenomenal. Dude. It's just like the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, I would love
when I heard it.
Especially like privacy. Like I would rather interact with a model that just gets better and better on ICP, and I own part of it or I own the outputs. Like at the end of the day, if I own ICP, then I own like an effective share of compute on ICP, or I guess a deflationary share, because the more people that use on it or develop on it, then eventually that comes back to me or comes back to all the ICP holders.
Well, and hopefully you would have more certainty that your inputs and outputs aren't being exploited.
Yep.
As they likely are with Trad AI, right?
Yeah. And you could really get like your own model that like knows your finances, your health, your all of the things, because that side of it is very exciting, helpful, but terrifying. Because if it is 100%. Controlled, and I think this is like maybe the first call we had a long time ago, and we were talking about how like that's all fun and games like when you're ordering pizza.
Yes.
But now you need your medication, and maybe you were late on some payment or something happened down the line, or maybe a family member that's tied to you, and they veto your payment or your acceptance to that source and resource that you need, and they use it against you. So that's scary. That's where like decentralization,
super non-trivial.
You see the power from it, where you can use DeFi, you can use all these things, but when you can use internet services in a decentralized way, like a lot of these things open up doors.
For all of these super serious areas, ICP seems to be the only viable place that you could achieve the sovereignty aspects, the tamper-proof aspects, the immutable aspects, right?
Yeah. I don't know, like decentralized compute, you can look at Tau. There's different options, like a Kosh has like decentralized GPU marketplaces.
Nice. Yeah, I'm totally ignorant of the rest of the market, so don't let me just say that, so hyperbolic like that.
No, it's good.
But like as a comprehensive environment for all these things to exist at once, it seems like ICP is the clear front runner.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Which, in a space where kind of terms are kind of thrown out, I think it's yeah, a good reflection on that. There are we've been talking about this recently in spaces and different things of just ICP is an empowerment rather than a competitor.
That's
I think
right.
I wrote, I
Big part
forget.
of Dom's article here too is that theme
Yeah.
that we should highlight.
Yeah. And so if we go into the evolution into a mainstream cloud solution where you have a non-opinionated cloud product,
Mm-hmm.
which for me is one of the most bullish because like we've talked about it, AWS is the competitor, GCP is a competitor, but what if they didn't have to be? What if there was a
Yes.
way to have the ICP benefits, the decentralization and hosting and running nodes, but if people wanted to do it through a provider or the providers wanted to do it themselves, let's say like AWS is maybe a bit tired of their East One services are going down.
Blackouts. Yep.
Yeah. How do
Now
they
they can be
protect against that?
fortified.
Yep, exactly. So now in those instances, there is a technology that can help. And that's where this
And not steal
introduction.
their customer base. Just
Yep.
maintain it. Sorry to cut you
Yep.
off.
No, exactly. No, like it's part of it. And that comes from cloud engines. That's something that Dom states.
Bingo.
And those are like, to those that know ICP, those are private subnets that users can kind of create, configure their own kind of things, where it's, I guess, an abstraction of Utopia, or maybe a distillation from Utopia, where that private subnet could be used for whatever you want. Or in the case of AWS or Google Cloud, it would be like they have virtualized instances. For example, like major cloud providers have different options. And one of those could be running on nodes that are on ICP. So again, that's more of like we talk, this is 2.0.
Yep.
2.0 is product.
Collaborative, not
Yeah.
rivalry.
Yep. Yep. It's all
With
about
Web 2.
growth, marketing, product. And they talk about the restructuring, which we've seen in, like, if you go on the list of the pictures of people at Dfinity, and kind of
Trimmed
some
it
of them
up.
are, yeah, to go from more of a research institute, which, it was probably one of the best, if not the best, in terms of what it was able to do to advance the space.
Yep.
And
Pure
now,
R&D.
yep, now shift to product growth, marketing, like a tech venture, which in the history of ICP we haven't seen. So again, one of the most bullish, I think, articles that have been
100%.
out in a long time. But yeah, so that covers the kind of the shift, the mindset, for profit plays, the ventures themselves, Caffeine, Utopia, Convo, the evolution into mainstream cloud that looks to leverage the growth and kind of extent that AWS and Google Cloud have as an option or a provider.
Help fortify and evolve their services.
Yeah. And then cloud engines, which I think would be really cool when cloud engines get to the point where you and I can run our own kind of like sovereign, exactly like you said in the beginning, like our own sovereign, either AI or whatever we want to do. We don't all
Models,
have to
agents.
have like crazy GPU compute power. Like we can go online and have that same ownership, which is tremendously valuable. And then, yeah, that takes us to the final one of kind of tokenomics, deflationary optimizations. I don't know if you want to go into Mission 70.
Yeah, let's touch on it. Let's just kind of give the viewers the full summary of the article because it's a big one. I'm sure a lot of people didn't have time to dig in,
Yeah. So
but we both highly recommend it. Obviously,
oh yeah, 100%. Read it, reread it, because it's a Dfinity, like, for the time being, because this is the early stages of product and marketing. So I would say it's a much easier like paper to get through. I think at times
agreed.
there's concepts that come out and it's like, oh, like we're coming out with this, or I forget what it was, like the not Gravitron or like the different updates,
Milestones. Yep,
milestones, yeah, which are so cool. Like
they're so cool.
if you
We
want
got
to
to
nerd
talk
out
about
and go through
Dexter's
those.
Meg's project
Yep,
for
yep.
that. Yeah,
Exactly. So like those are great, but there is a barrier in terms of actually, communicating that across to the users. And again, the ICP community is amazing because those milestones would come out and you'd have like 20 different versions of people talking about it in their own way of why they're bullish or why they're bearish. But either way, it's
Sure.
just, it increases the collective understanding. And I think for this, it's like one of the first times that it's not too technical. And I think for the very reason that they are shifting to 2.0.
I sent to my dad
Yeah.
and some friends, which it's rare for me to be able to just do that, you know? So yeah, I did feel it was a lot more accessible,
Yeah.
but still pretty nuanced.
No, exactly. And I think more and more we'll see things like this and they'll continue to improve. Again, we're going from like, and this is another shout out to Dexter, but of the, like your customizable character that has like all of these attributes and they've like maxed out on research and then they've like, they're not too developed on like growth marketing and product. And then now they're like research for the most part is potentially considered done and they're shifting over. It's not like,
Infrastructure is built.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And there's still improvements. Like
Of
there are
course.
still ways of
20
getting
years
close.
worth on the
Yeah.
roadmap, but
Yep.
yeah, the core is there.
Yeah, core is there and they can afford to kind of make this shift. And then yeah, now you have growth and product and marketing things that are kind of getting more of a spotlight, but it's not easy. Like again, if you have spent all this time doing research and like testing and incubation, like it's not easy to just shift from like, I don't know, a Swiss research facility to a San Francisco startup and
Right.
they're jumping on it. So props to them because it's definitely the right way to go. Like the first solution that you have to get past when you're like either selling a product or going through different negotiations or different things is like knowledge of your product. Like if they don't know what it is or they don't know about it, they're not gonna do anything
Take
with
full
it.
advantage of it.
Yeah, like they
Right.
don't know it's an option. They don't know anything, and we can say like, oh, decentralized cloud, but like again, if people don't know ICP, they'll never know it. Like in terms of outreach, marketing, you could put billboards up, like it.
They don't even know why it matters to have a decentralized cloud. That's
Yeah,
kind of why we're here, to help inform.
yep.
But yeah,
And there's so much work that needs to be done in terms of distilling that onboarding process. I think
yep.
that's one of the reasons why ICP community is so tight is because we all got in before the marketing and product and all like we've got in before 2.0. So
Yeah.
we managed to find our own paths to finding the technology and then stayed long enough to understand it or at least understand it to some level
Right.
and why
And
it's a
keep learning.
benefit. Yeah, and keep learning. But many don't. And that's the question that needs answering. That's like growth and marketing. Like that's what they should target. And
Yes.
it's
The
coming.
fall
Like
off.
that's what 2.0 is like a statement. It's like, hey, here's what we've been doing this whole time. And, we're happy with where we're at on one end, on the research side, infrastructure side, but we're not very happy on the adoption side. We're not very happy on very blatantly, it could be like token price, or it could be cycle burning, or it could be like
Mm-hmm.
developers. So they know the problems. They know the problems that need kind of targeting, which is
Yes.
phenomenal. And
It's
they've laid
nice
them
to
out.
nod his head to each of
Yeah.
them. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Which brings us to tokenomics and like deflationary optimizations, which is mission 70. So
Yep.
mission 70 I think is more of a personal goal. I don't know if it's like a Dfinity level goal, but it's to reduce inflation by 70% during 2026. So the year that we're about to go into, like
Yeah.
2026, like it's like a month away.
Uh-huh.
During that whole year, the goal is to reduce inflation by 70%, which is incredible because I don't think people really feel the weight of how deflation can impact ICP. People look at the circulating supply right now
Mm-hmm.
and they might think like, oh, great, like that's what it'll always be, and it'll keep increasing because of inflation. But again, as more and more people develop, like that total becomes much more scarce. It trickles down all the way to burning cycles. all of these things, the Caffeine, Utopia, Convo, all burning cycles, infiltrating like large cloud services, centralized cloud services, by giving them a decentralized option for all their users. Like, you don't have to like try to go the same growth route. There are different ways to do this. I think with Caffeine, they should have like an ICP deployment option into Lovable, into Bolt.new.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
ICP
And
is
Dom
the main.
nods to that. Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Like, those are like the end game of Caffeine is not necessarily things that you build. It's ICP deflation. I think
Option.
if people make those connections, then it makes a lot more sense. In that, like, what makes Caffeine really good is the ICP infrastructure underneath, the enhanced orthogonal persistence, the
Yes.
data loss like harness that they've put around it.
Secure by default.
Yeah, secure by default. Those are all benefits that ICP has. And now it's about getting more and more users to know about it, use it, have an option, and leverage people that maybe have a lot more reach, like in terms of,
Yeah.
and maybe Bobby O has much more. I'd love to hear his take on the cloud engines. I think he's probably made a video already, or maybe more than one, going into it, but just how big the adoption could be as like I don't know, a section of 1% or 2% of
Yeah. We get
AWS.
into enterprise, quickly. It's a slippery slope.
Yep. Yep. And then there's the proposals to potentially reduce the maximum lockup times for governance, which is again something between decreasing the like maturity and rewards in terms of helping like cut into inflation, which I don't, people
Yeah. Would
are.
that apply to existing 8-year gang members or only new stakers? Was that specified?
I think it would, like, 8-year would turn into 5-year maybe, and you would cut into the rewards from a certain point, or maybe you grandfather people in and they keep earning their 8-year reward as a 5-year, and then all the people that are already in 5-year are not very happy. But I would do the numbers. I would look into it. At the end of the day, like, I think inflation and price movement, you can get a bit tricky, and which one do you prioritize? And this one seems to be all about prioritizing.
Deflation.
Yeah, exactly. All about prioritizing deflation and in different like attack vectors, which is phenomenal to see, which they've done a great job of kind of sectioning it out. And I think what they should do is like take that Medium post and then like say like, hey, how would you build a landing page for this plan, or like, this is your products, this is what you can do, like how would you optimize that? Because it's so like, I got more about ICP's current developments and what they're doing from a Medium post from Dom than
Yeah.
the entire website.
That's good feedback.
It's
That's
just
good
like,
feedback. Yep.
I mean, I've
Yep.
I've I've made comments about that website for so long, and like that website has gone through so many improvements. So I'm not like just cutting it and just saying like,
Yeah,
oh
it's nice too. I
it's
mean,
improving.
I haven't
Yeah,
dug in enough though. I'm probably not near as much as you.
yeah. Like there's, I don't
The
know.
dashboards looks great.
Yeah,
Just
I
from a
am
UI standpoint.
opinionated as well. Of like,
Please share.
I don't know. Like there's so many. Like a paragraph, I'm already lost.
Oh
I think.
yeah, there is. It's very text heavy at
Yeah,
times. Right off
yeah,
the bat.
yeah. Yeah,
Oh shoot!
exactly.
Excuse me.
Yeah, you're good.
Hiccuping.
You're good. That's what happens to me sometimes when I see the website. No, good. All right. But on a serious note, like was it Monad or whatever is coming out is
On
launching soon.
Coinbase with
Yeah. Uh,
Coinbase.
with Coinbase. They have their own stuff,
Uh-huh.
and they're kind of like a Solana 2.0, but if it was EVM based in terms of like TPS speeds and all of that. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. But
Well, shoot. I was wondering if you could kind of give the breakdown on how mechanics will change for node providers. He mentioned that, right? Like they'll be more incentivized to optimize performance.
yeah, there was like something about like a new model for providers where they could compete for their nodes to
Yes.
be included in these cloud engines and then earn a
Yeah.
percentage of their revenue generated. It was, and I think with maybe a portion of the ICP being burned, which adds a new deflationary mechanism. again, like, yeah,
Fascinating.
this thing is ridiculously bullish just in terms of what they're thinking of and how they're going about it. And if they do like tack off all these things throughout 2026, I think 70% reduction in inflation is a very realistic target. And we'll see with the apps that are built, because again, if caffeine keeps improving and people can build more and more things, what you're essentially siphoning is, rather than other chains, you're siphoning Web 2, and you're kind
That's
of
right.
slowly rebuilding the internet on this new infrastructure. And all of us that are already in here are kind of the pioneers of doing that. Like, a big shout out to uBin
Hmm.
in terms of like going after Google Drive and going this route of decentralized storage and interaction with the things that you have. Like, let's say eventually with AI models, because of like potentially Daniel's connections with Eliza OS, or even just him building it himself, you could have like all this data that's in your Google Drive right now. If you like sign off to Gemini or whatever, like, great. Now you've like all your stuff is
All
being
your
trained
access.
on something else. Yeah.
All that access. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So what if you could have it, personal to you? And I think
Sure.
that would be a cool way that uBin develops. But again, that's like so early days. Like, this stuff is just being built.
Massive shout out to Daniel McCoy too for building uBin, figuring that out. So I mean, it's been built for a long time, correct? So he was so early with that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I got to test it out not long after getting into the eco, and that was way before caffeine, obviously. So it was the first time I got to interact with like the blockchain and put like store stuff on chain, and I was so excited
Yeah.
to be able to like escape the grips of Google. I need to stop phrasing it like that because I love Google Drive. I use it every day. I'm a video professional, so I've been and photographer, so I've used it my whole life essentially, and it's been awesome. But like we all know the trade-offs, and
Yep.
so to transcend those trade-offs with on-chain storage and products like uBin is phenomenal.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
we'd love to
Exactly.
have
And
Dan on at some point. We've yet to talk, but mad
yeah.
kudos and respect to the work he's put in.
Yep. Yeah. He's one of like, there are people in the space that like very few have like single-handedly pushed ICP further.
Shipped. Oh yeah, and
Or shipped as well. Yeah. Yeah. Shipped as well. But
sure.
in both cases, I think are
Hmm.
great. Like, people like you and Bobby and Jerry Banfield on the marketing side, but also Daniel and all the builders behind the scene.
Yeah.
Like, everybody plays a role. Even people that just like a video
Hmm.
or follow you, like, that builds and it compounds, and we get
Yes,
bigger
sir.
and bigger. And it does have an influence at the end of the day. And it does have an outreach. And it's like, a lot of people are the arms and feedback loops for how ICP 2.0 is going to be successful. Yes,
Hmm.
cloud engines, you and I are probably not going to have much of an impact, but for caffeine and maybe Convo when it comes out, maybe we might have much more. But yeah, there's little things in here that more people might have more of an influence on. But yeah, again, people
Totally.
like Daniel are like massive benefits to the ecosystem and where it's at today, for sure.
And just inspirational figures,
Yeah. Yeah.
to show
And
us that
great
anyone can
resources.
learn how to do this. And yep. And I know he's doing a lot of networking, both you guys, and getting on these, like the recent Digital Gold Pod and just representing the community and the ethos so well. So
Yeah.
it's awesome,
And
man.
a lot of us have been like in the space for a long, long time and have different journeys. Some people found ICP from the beginning and are fortunate enough to have that experience, which I think you shared that you had that experience, and it's a nice one. You come in, you have with ICP, and it's, for me,
Oh
I didn't
yeah,
have.
on Tagger, like first time on chain social media, like
Yeah.
on chain storage. For you, you didn't have what?
No, I was just saying, for me, like, I didn't have that same journey, and I've been in this space for a long, long time, and like the journey that I've had is one that saw ICP a bit more on the outer end of, not necessarily like every other chain. We were talking about this in that one podcast, but is an evolution of Bitcoin or Ethereum and different
Yep.
versions of it.
Yep.
Again, distributed ledgers. I mean, yeah, you have exceptions, you have Filecoin, storage, Iagon with compute and different stuff. But again, having everything together is ICP. It's not an easy transition when everything that you know and understand of a certain space is wrong and limited. How do you see more? It's impossible. It takes a lot of time, but there are ways that like you can learn from those experiences. You can talk to different people in the space and you communicate and you try to distill your vision in a way that empowers others rather than diminishes
Yes.
them.
Yes, sir.
Um, I think,
Because it's like a whole new dimension you're
yeah,
trying to expose yourself to.
yeah,
Like it was easier for me to get it not having the prior experience with blockchain or
yeah,
building in Web 2.
yeah.
Whereas yeah.
I think I've noticed that as well of like talking to people in Web 2 about ICP and then talking to other people that are holding different coins is that people in Web 2 don't have all those biases. They tend to not have like a bag bias, which is like, hey, like I'm holding a lot of this coin, so
Yep.
like I think I believe in this,
It's the
this is
best.
true, and like ICP might actually be worse in like that's very very specific instance, and like they want to hold on to that, sure, but if they want to find ways that like the tokens can interact and empower each other, like that's a
This is the
huge
way.
step that doesn't happen unless you handhold and figure that out. But yeah, Web 2 is so much easier of seeing it. It's, I mean, you see it like at the scales of like blackouts with the East One servers, is that people are looking for different options. People are looking for different things, and ICP is right there. There's
Yep.
that connection has it's being made. There's like the pilot stuff. There's different things that are happening. 2.0 is now like showing that that's the main focus. So they're doing it. Like
Yes.
it's
When
the
before it was
snowball.
always like all of Web 2 is wrong. Every other blockchain is inferior. We're the best, And it's like, where is that going to get you? How are we going to bring people
Yeah.
across the moat with that attitude? And now that's totally flipping that
Yep.
perspective to a more harmonious, collaborative
Yep.
approach.
Yeah, I
And
had
so that's the way, man. Yeah.
there was I think Digital Land Broker, shout out to him,
Yeah.
posted a question.
Reg.
Yeah, Reg posted a
Big shout out to
question.
Reg. I love that
Yeah.
guy, man.
He's
He's
awesome.
a he's a source of wisdom.
He's
Super good
awesome.
guy.
I need a new list of book recommendations actually from him. But yeah, he posted a question. Kind of this is the ICP Coinbase stuff, and then kind of this morning was thinking of a response, and I kind of just
Yeah.
laid it out. And it's like it's so true that if you're a different version of Bitcoin or you're a different version of Ethereum, like inherently you're in competitions with all the other versions. Whereas there are exceptions, like you look at Tau for like decentralized Lambda, like AWS Lambda for those that know, but
Okay.
like AI and machine learning tasks for a decentralized marketplace for GPUs. I say mostly those because I'm like very kind of looking on the AI side of things.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be like you want to look into extended UTXOs and you want to look into Cardano and see if there's maybe a way to go like from ICP to Cardano to Bitcoin in a nice way, or
Can you
just have
explain
both.
UTXO just real quick what that acronym
Yeah,
is?
so this is like, and maybe we would have like a whole nother hour of going into this,
Sure.
but it's
Sure.
like there's two different paradigms in terms of like double spending, or like you have to think back at a distributed ledger, right? That's at the core of what Bitcoin is, and how do you
Mm-hmm.
keep it honest? And Bitcoin has UTXOs, so these are unspent transactions. I forgot what the O is, which is killing me. I'll probably look
I
it up
got you.
and
I'm cheating.
know it immediately.
Point unspent transaction output.
Output. Okay, nice. So yeah. So when you interact with Bitcoin, there are these like I don't think I'm going to do justice to UTXOs,
You're good, bro. You're good.
but there's essentially Bitcoin and Ethereum have different models. On Ethereum, it's an account model. And then on Bitcoin, you have these unspent transactions. And then on Cardano, they're extended. But again, off the top of my head, I don't know the benefit that you get in terms of how or why they're considered extended. But again, it's all in terms of preventing where somebody can spend the
Double
same amount. Yeah, same
spend.
amount twice when it's not intended to do so. And using these unspent transactions, you can kind of keep a log of all these distributions throughout Bitcoin or throughout Cardano or anybody else who uses unspent transaction. What is it? Output, or what did you say?
Output, correct.
Yeah.
That's a totally new concept to me, so I appreciate the breakdown. I wonder if we're going to lose people on that or
Yeah,
not. But
I mean,
what we're talking about here is finding ways that ICP can empower other communities, chains, services, right?
yeah, exactly. And it goes into like, this is kind of like the core of, I guess, not security, but verifiability of crypto.
Like, yeah, the advantages that can afford to trad services.
Yeah, because it's like usually you would have like a bank would be like, hey, like you charge this person twice for the same thing, I'm going to flag it. But then in Bitcoin, you don't have a bank to go to. So how do you prevent that? And it's
Right.
not a very easy thing to do. And especially at like a decentralized ledger level. But that's like the beauty of Bitcoin, was that it figured out a way to do it. And then there's been iterations. Like, let me just quickly look up extended UTXOs
Yeah.
to see what the benefit is. Yeah, because let's see. So this, what I get is Cardano's EUTXO model extends Bitcoin's basic UTXO model by incorporating arbitrary scripts and data payloads into transaction outputs, enabling advanced smart contract functionality, deterministic validation, and greater expressiveness for decentralized applications while preserving the security and parallelism of UTXO design. Okay, so that basically didn't say anything. But what it allows, or what it shows, is that they've extended it to allow smart contracts. So bring programmability to a Bitcoin-like environment. So again, if you look at the ethos of Cardano, you start from Bitcoin double spending prevention, which is UTXOs, and then Ethereum came out and has smart contracts. So you have programmability, programmatic money essentially, and Cardano comes in and has the like ethos of both in their own distributed ledger, in their own like place to build certain things.
Environment.
Yeah, but again, like this is, I don't think we did very good justice to to those. I think people maybe learned a little bit, or know that there are like differences in these things. Every single chain has like their own unique, slightly different benefits,
Right.
which could have,
Use
like
cases.
drastic differences. Like Cardano, from like a user perspective, their staking mechanism is, I think it's the industry standard. Like it should be the industry standard. It's phenomenal, where you have native liquid staking,
Right. Heard you speak
where
on that.
if you're just holding it in your wallet, you're earning yield. You don't have to lock it up anywhere. I think ICP is on the complete opposite end, and way better for potentially like a price appreciation layer, which is you can lock it up to 8 years, and a lot of people do. Like that is something I guarantee, if you go to out in the space, even in crypto, for people that have been in the space for like 10, 15 years, whatever it is,
Unprecedented.
yeah, guarantee that they don't know that ICP you can stake up to 8 years, or if they change it up to 5 years, even like
At
all
great
of those are
rates.
just ridiculous. Yeah. So there's so many things that are slightly different, and you kind of get muddied in the water when people start saying on chain, because on chain for 99% of the ecosystem is different than it is on ICP. So when we say like our on chain is different, literally every single other person is saying it's not. So how do you
Right.
how do you get your narrative out there when the narrative that you're playing in is one that just does not understand it? And yeah, I think that's why there's a push for
That's why it's
Web2.
that's why it's a whole other dimension,
Yeah.
literally, because their definition of on chain just means some affiliation with blockchain technology to some degree, but most of the components and dependencies are off. But on ICP, everything is on. So
Yep.
totally different paradigm.
Yeah, exactly. And I highly, there's some great YouTube videos on UTXOs. If people want to go into those, there's some great content. There's a guy named Dave who runs a stake pool, because there's stake pool operators. There's also DREPs that are decentralized representatives for Cardano governance. There's so much like cool stuff that other ecosystems are doing that I would say like have fun with it, like see and try to find ways that ICP can kind of combine, and then it empowers both chains.
Mm-hmm.
And it paints a light that it's not a competition.
Right.
Yeah, which is it's a hard pill to swallow when like you don't even know that it's a pill. Like you don't even
Yes.
know what's going on.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a great analogy, but
I think it is.
yeah.
And that's why I made a post the other day that I've kind of been riding the line between hyperbole and truth just for the sake of, awareness on ICP. But I made a post that was saying chain key technology is like effectively partnering ICP with all other blockchains because it connects them natively. What's your response to that take, to use that language?
I think it's great. I think
because we don't have CK Sui yet. We don't have CK a lot of these chains yet, but it is coming. So I'm kind of like leaping into the future with that language. But
yeah, I think people could kind of develop things. We've seen like different developers building those connections already, like the Sui and the ICP connections.
Mm-hmm.
And there's different layers. I think there are places where you could use, ICP or something else, and which is fine. Like if all you want is a decentralized and distributed ledger, maybe there are better chains, and that's fine. But as soon as you tap into the traditional tech stack, I think that's where you have the advantage of ICP. That's where the partnerships would be really good, because then you get the best of both worlds. But I don't know, this is still very, very early days. So we're talking about partnerships in Web3 only.
Right.
And
totally.
I think there's so many,
which is such a niche.
Yeah.
In itself.
Yeah. And there's so many products that are in Web2.
99.9%.
Yeah. That talk about like privacy or security or having a good uptime, that are just like waiting for a product like ICP to be an option, and they can't find it. So yeah, I think, again, back to ICP 2.0, it's all in there. Like it's happening. This is the trajectory. This is where it's going. A lot of people before 2.0 were talking about it. A lot of people didn't really get not necessarily a fair shot, but of just like the same respect, I guess, that Dfinity has, and that's fine. Like Dfinity is like the creators.
Who?
Just people in general. I don't.
People suggesting.
People that
changes?
were talking about like product marketing. I mean, some people say marketing and they just want advertisements.
With the broader market.
Yeah, like people understand things in different ways. Like people will yell for marketing and say like, oh, look, they have billboards. And it's like, okay, great. But like, how many like conversions do they have? Are they actually using caffeine? How long do they use caffeine for? Are they like actual paying customers now? Did they actually come from that billboard? How much money did you put in, and how much money are you getting out of it? There's so much more complexities to marketing than I think people give credit, where you can have marketing where you spend millions and you have nothing to show for it afterwards. And that's not a dig on anybody. Like that's just marketing. Like marketing at times doesn't work. But if the only failed marketing in my book,
it's always an experiment.
Yeah. And I do want to say the only failed marketing in my book is one that you don't learn from, where you've paid, you turn the other cheek and you start working on other things, and then you check in on the marketing and you have no idea whether it worked or not. Like you have more users on caffeine, but you have no idea where they came from. That's not good marketing.
Agreed. I don't know how much the article got into marketing. Do you recall? I feel like
no, but it's I don't know. I like to pair growth with marketing.
And it's naturally going to be paired with morphing into a traditional tech venture approach.
Yeah, like
and for profit.
Building caffeine is marketing. That's a marketing arm for ICP, like a Trojan horse. The more people build, the more people build on ICP. Utopia, Trojan horse for getting ICP
Mm-hmm.
as a cloud infrastructure for like private, like governments or
Enterprise,
enterprise. Yep. Convo.
universities.
Yeah, exactly. It goes into like caffeine or building with voice or something that they're alluding to that's maybe more. And you get into cloud engines, which again is marketing because it's allowing for ICP to be an option that could potentially run nodes on virtualized instances for major cloud providers like AWS or GCP, which is Google Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So all those areas are, in my opinion, like that's your growth, that's
Marketing.
your marketing. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you're spending money and marketing to get users into caffeine, but then they're not building and they're not burning cycles, then it's wasted. Like you have your own, like what is a successful marketing metric for ICP? It would probably be adoption and cycle burn. But what is adoption? Like you have to define it. You have to find the metrics that you're going to follow. But there's great resources for this. Like you don't have to do it blindly and try to guess. Like you can look at different companies, and I'm sure they're doing it. I'm
Yeah.
sure the people
Mm-hmm.
behind growth are focused on it. But if they don't have those metrics, like there's like startups used to have like these actual like monitors that they would have at all times for those important metrics, whether they defined like adoption as like monthly active users or like monthly active users that have been active within the past week or something. And you can distill it to different levels to see that it's not like
Totally.
a zombie user that's just been on for that month but didn't do anything.
Uh-huh.
Caffeine, you get a bit more insights because you can actually build and see what people are doing and you're collecting that data. So that's good. But if you don't, if you're running around and have none of these definitions and then you expect to improve, it's not going to happen. Like you have to have these things. You have to have an understanding of everything that you're doing. And like people might say like, oh, why do you need everything? Like, why can't you just put a billboard in and have caffeine be successful? Like, that's not how it works. That's not how products work. Like so many people have had billboards, but that doesn't really change much. And yeah, you can get hyped behind it because it's a marketing push, but like there's a difference between good marketing and bad marketing.
Superficial, empty, potentially. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know, and this is like very direct and might be considered a bit harsh on certain things, but it's like I want them, and I've said this repeatedly, but the only thing that I want is for them to take the same due diligence that they take in their scientific approach for their research-backed kind of almost institution-like research and development, and apply the same like first principles to marketing and growth and product work, and they'll be completely fine. Like caffeine might actually be the product that everybody uses maybe more than ChatGPT, because if they do execute on that level, I have full faith that they're able to deliver and will continue to do so, and it'll compound and it'll get better and better. But it is difficult work, and a lot of people tend to say
Yep.
like, oh, product and growth and marketing isn't that hard, and people tend to just focus on development. So they build these products and they work really hard, and then they lift their head up and there's no one to use it because it's not like they don't have the market fit anymore. And they ask why,
Sure.
and they usually they disband it or they sunset projects and they move on, which is fine. Like Google, if you look at Google, how many projects they've sunset, it's ridiculous. So caffeine coming out and Dfinity coming out and having 3 projects that are going to be ventures, do I have faith that all of them are going to work super well? I don't know. But they are like amazing products, and they've distilled it to really understand like what their metric is, which is cutting down this inflation, which helps because then everything you do, Utopia, caffeine, all these things start to tackle that inflation, start to tackle making things more deflationary. So I think to a high level, I think they've identified what they want to focus on, but I don't yet know if they're tracking the specific metrics, and I hope they do.
Very well said, all of that. And yeah, it'd be really cool to hear from marketing and growth reps at Dfinity. I'm sure a lot of this is confidential, right? Or who
Yeah,
knows? But it'd be cool if, to have you picking their brain and
yeah,
see how much of the strategy they're able to disclose.
yeah. I would just love to hear, like, if inflation is that main metric, like, okay, 70% inflation reduction. Like, now we have a number. What does that mean? Okay, how is inflation produced? Inflation produced with maturity. And how is it reduced? Oh, it's reduced with cycle burning. So you can start to expand this like map of how to achieve your goal and tie caffeine to it. Okay, caffeine has a deflationary aspect, but is it measurable? Are we measuring it? All these things, Utopia, Convo, going into the cloud engine, all those things should be tying in, because if you're doing them in silos and hoping that they come back to tackle your metrics, it fails. So I would just, yeah, I would like to ask, because if it's something that we have to ask, it's not being done. We should not be having a conversation where we're trying to guess what the mission is for Dfinity. And I think with ICP 2.0, we see that it's the reduction of 70% inflation through these different ventures. So we can distill it from what
One
they've said.
aspect
Yeah.
of the mission, or
Yes.
one submission.
Yeah. And we can distill it from what they've shared, which is like 20 steps ahead of where they have been in the past, which is mostly just stating things, but then not necessarily tying them to a purpose or reason or a value proposition. But again, like there is still that work of having to manually distill and see certain things. But this is like, I don't know. It doesn't really get much better than this. Like I don't really have comments on the ICP 2.0 in term. I would just hope for more of this, because it was phenomenal. And maybe still distill a little bit. I think there's a little bit of like that research side that's still like kicking in, of like, what is cloud engines? What are they going to bring? And subnets and all this stuff, which is great.
He puts enough Easter eggs out there for curious people to pursue and study.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Some hints, you know?
Yeah. And I hope it's not like, I think what worries me is that it's 2.0 is written as this, and then people go and do it, right? People work on Caffeine, people work on Utopia, develop Convo, people work out the cloud engine stuff, but none of it is being tracked towards their like North Star. Like that's one of the classic like startup stuff, is you develop your North Stars, and then you have signposts along the ways. So like Caffeine is a signpost, Utopia is, Convo is, but like you can distill it even further to say like caffeine to a million apps is one of them, and you can kind of get further in that way.
Really good stuff, bro. We covered it pretty sufficiently, I feel like. Are there any aspects we missed from the article? Oh, just he highlighted, or he elaborated on the self-writing internet aspects a little bit more. Just how that will be like a ubiquitous paradigm in the future, right? For the internet itself and how software is developed.
Like the first phase is like it has to be possible. And now it is, right? Now you can have self-writing applications and users interact through it. And the next phase is you don't need those users. You can just have AI do it, and it improves for those users, which is, I guess, maybe Caffeine 2.0. And maybe we'll see that in a few years. But it's happening. And
the rails are there.
Yeah. And I'm excited for when the infrastructure, and because again, right, you can have code that's submitted and the entire ICP architecture improves. And I think for AI development, that is something completely unique to ICP. Like you can't, in no other ecosystem or paradigm or network or protocol, can you have such seamless upgrades.
Yeah.
And at the speed of AI improving and being able to improve as an extension is ICP. So the code that's being suggested now mostly comes from Dfinity, or comes from people that are working and know about the space really well, or they're in forums all the time and all those things. They have that expertise, which is great. It gets us moving. But then as AI improves, we might not necessarily need all that. And then AI can come in and improve ICP. And then apps are being built with Caffeine to improve for the users, their interactions. And both of them are flywheels. So the infrastructure is getting better constantly, and the apps are getting better constantly. This is like, I forget what the term is, but there's a term in terms of AI acceleration that describes this, but that's what's coming. Like
that's so exciting, so powerful.
And this is
Mind-blowing
early
implications.
days.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice, dude. How you feeling?
Good. I think I'm
Yeah, we're pretty.
yeah, what are
We've
we,
been getting in the
two?
trenches. 2 hours, 6 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah, 2 hours
it's
in
a
the
lot of
trenches,
ground.
a lot of ground.